Okay, all these quarterbacks really haven't talked a ton about Trevor Lawrence. It's boring, right? He's going to go number one. It's just like the generational talent we don't talk about anymore. But Chris has got him as the number 2 quarterback. There was some news made. This is a quote that came out. I think it was via SportsIllustrated.com. Nicole's punching it up on YouTube right here. And this was Trevor Lawrence on his motivation. I want people to know that I'm passionate about what I do, and it's really important to me, but I don't have this huge chip on my shoulder that everyone's out to get me and I'm trying to prove everyone wrong. I just don't have that. I can't manufacture that. I don't want to. I think people mistake that for being a competitor. I think that's unhealthy to a certain extent, just always thinking that you've got to prove someone wrong, you've got to do more, you've got to do better, end quote. That is on SportsIllustrated.com. I think his father later said that it's not the end-all be-all to him to go out there and win a Super Bowl. It's not what motivates him, you know?
Yeah.
And I think he said he could walk away from the game, and that's okay.
Yeah, like his old high school coach said, I could see him.
High school coach. I could see him walking away from the game, and it's not like the end-all be-all to him. What do you think about that?
All right, so let me, the first quote, right? That first part about, I'm not a chip on my shoulder, all that type of stuff. That's fine.
Why would he? Everyone's been gushing about it.
Well, that's right. And not everybody, I think we're all a little bit like, oh, Tom Brady's got the chip on his shoulder because of the sixth round pick.
Yeah.
And that's work, so you need to have a chip on your shoulder. No, you don't. You don't. Patrick Mahomes doesn't have that chip on his shoulder. Patrick Mahomes just wants to be the best player he can be. He wants to maximize, and I think that's what Trevor Lawrence is like. I'm a competitor. I want to be great. But I don't want to be the great and go this person doubted me. Red marker, rifle, I'm going to shoot them one day. He's not like that. That's not what he does.
Yeah.
That's fine. There's plenty of quarterbacks that are like that. There's a lot of great ones. Really, Brady's the most chip on his shoulder type guy we've ever seen, really, from that standpoint. So I have no issues with that aspect of that quote. The Super Bowl thing, listen, teams aren't going to love to hear that. They're not going to love to hear that. I don't know what else to say. When you're 2 years removed from Andrew Luck in the NFL,
sure,
they don't want to hear that. That's still scaring teams, Andrew Luck's retirement.
That's one of the bigger things that teams try to get out of a guy, correct me if I'm wrong, is how much do you love this game?
Right.
It's going to be very difficult.
It is.
Right?
That's where it was a little bit with the Justin Herbert thing last year too.
That's
if you
true.
Remember.
I remember that.
He likes the bubble of Oregon. We're not sure how much he likes football. He's a real smart guy.
He played an extra year at Oregon when he could have come out and been a top 10
He's got
pick.
brains, so at some point in his life he might go, I can do other things in my life. So that scared the shit out of people, especially a year after Andrew Luck. So I think there is the repercussions of that still kind of reverberating through the NFL world when it comes to that. And then, of course, nobody wants to hear the Super Bowl thing. Everybody's in it to win a Super Bowl. I think he was trying to play the thing, they were trying to play this angle of I'm more than just this meathead football guy.
Yeah.
And, I love football, but it's not the end-all, be-all, and I'm not like he's saying, he's chippy or crossing people off a list and keeping names and doing all that stuff. But I will say, with all that, right, the high school coach's quote, scares teams, and it does look a little weird. I can't deny that, especially when we've gone through the last 2 weeks of people questioning Justin Fields and his love for football.
Sure.
And doing all that. Listen, I think we'd be doing Justin Fields an injustice if we didn't bring this up. You can't have that kind of talk around him with no evidence to back that up. None. I mean, no evidence.
Yeah.
Oh, the guy that got Big Ten football back on playing football, he's not the one that what? Yeah, you got to have some evidence there, or say something to me for me to ring true that way.
Right.
And I'm not gonna lie. If he said that, there'd be a big issue about it right now. I don't think there'd be any doubt about that. It'd be a big issue.
You think that's along racial lines?
I don't know if it's racial lines. It goes back to again what I just look at it with for some reason, it's swept under the rug with one guy, and another guy, we make a big deal about it. I don't get it, and that's what bothers me about the draft a little bit.
I mean, I think
it's refreshing from Trevor Lawrence.
Sure, and I think that isn't necessarily, doesn't have to be because Trevor Lawrence is white. I think part of that is that he has for so long been this guy. Yeah, he's number one. He's the number one player. I think anyone at the top, if Michael Jordan, number one player, if he said, it's like, yeah, it doesn't drive me. It's not the end all be all. It's like he's earned that because he's already proved that he's gotten to the top of the mountain here with that philosophy. If people really do believe, and a lot of people do, that Trevor Lawrence has gotten to the top of the mountain as a prospect for the NFL draft. They've been talking about him as the number one guy for a long time.
Right.
So I think if we had been talking about Justin Fields like that for a couple of years, I think he could probably get away with that too. It's one of those things where if you are the guy, you can be like, yeah, it's not the end all be all to me. But if you're not the guy and you say that, then you're like, you don't want to be the guy. You're not the guy.
Right.
You can't say that. But I think Trevor Lawrence sees himself as the first pick. People have been telling him that for a long time, and it feels like he can say that.
Yeah, I think there's probably some truth to that. You're right. He's been built up and feels he's in the spot to where
I can be like, yeah, it's not that big a deal to me.
Nobody questions anything with me. Right. Nobody questions anything. I'm a good player. We went to two, we were in the Final Four all 3 years. I won a national championship as a freshman, and all right, screw you.
Yeah.
But it's not necessarily fair that way. I don't think that some of the other quarterbacks could have got away with that quote.
Yep. I think you're right. And he's got to look at your top 5 quarterback list, and then he wouldn't be saying stuff like that.
Get chippy. How dare Simms put me on the list? And he just got married too. So that was a big weekend for him.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.